If you're not, you can go back to your seat and work silently and solo by yourself. Perfect, Roy. Perfect, Damon Joseph. All right. So like I told you guys, we're going to have a little bit of a story time today, which is a little bit different, Dennis, than what we've done before. Because in my opinion, history is all about the story, and this is the really, really, really good story where we can get in depth. It's really entertaining. It's really fascinating, Gabe. So we're going to dive deep in it today, and I just need everybody's eyes. You're not writing anything. You're just listening. That's really it, okay? All right. So we talked about in our hook today about turning points. So in my story today, there's going to be a guy, a young prince, who has a turning point. And so what happens is there's this really rich and wealthy king and a really wealthy queen. They live in a civilization in India at the bottom of the Himalayan mountains, okay? The queen goes to sleep one night and she has this like amazing dream, okay? She had a dream that there was an elephant with 6 tusks that imagine this, she's literally has this dream that she's floating up above the Himalayan mountains, and there's an elephant heaven with 6 tusks that's dancing around her. He does a couple circles around her, and then on the last one, he stabs her with his tusks in the side. So she wakes up, and she's like, oh my gosh, I have to know what happened. So of course, in India, who are you going to call but the Brahmins, right? The Brahmins are at the top of our social pyramid. There are priests. They can interpret your dreams. And so she said, what does this mean? What happened? Why did this happen in my dream? And he said, you're going to have a son. And this means that one of 2 things is going to happen to the son. Either A, he's going to grow up and he's going to be the wealthiest, most prestigious, biggest, baddest, best prince there ever was. Or he's going to be an ascetic. And I'm going to tell you what an ascetic means. An ascetic is someone who gives up all of their earthly possessions to find this kind of spiritual enlightenment inside of themselves, but they don't have any possessions. They give everything away, okay? So she tells her husband, the king, and the king's like, oh, heck no. My son is not going to give everything away, give everything that I worked for away. No, it's not happening. So I'm going to keep him in my kingdom. He's never going to leave my palace walls, and I'm going to give him everything he ever wanted. So he grows up, this prince grows up, he has everything. Thank you for those of you who I just have to make consistent eye contact as I'm speaking. He grows up and he never leaves the palace. He's got everything he could ever want for. Tons of servants waiting at his beck and call, right? He has everything he could ever want. But finally he gets a little bit older and he's like getting a little bit curious. He sees this great wall, he knows, he hears things outside the wall, but he's not really quite sure what's out there. So one day he asks one of his advisors, he said, hey, can you take me outside the wall? And the advisor's like, nope, I'm really sorry, I can't do that for you, sir. But I have everything for you here. Here's all the food you could ever want. Here's all the gold you could ever want. Everything you could ever want, Travis. And he says, no, I really, really, really want to go beyond the wall. Will you take me? So he begs and he pleads, and finally he says, okay, I'll take you past the wall. So they gear up and they start walking past the wall. As soon as the gates close, he knows something's different. Okay, so he starts walking through the streets where all the common people are. And he walks up to something. He's looking at it, and he's confused. He walks a little bit closer, kind of squints his eyes. Oh my gosh, what is that? Oh my gosh, take me back. We have to go back right now. So they go back. They turn around and they go, they go right back to the palace. Great. Who's going to be the first one that has to go back and sit at their seat? Stop. They go back. Okay? And he's like, yo, what was that? You should never let me go past the palace walls. What the heck was that? And the advisor looks at him and says, Prince, that was what sickness looks like. Oh. He had never seen sickness. illness. He had never seen disease. He had never seen someone who was sick before. Okay. So he's in the palace for a couple more days, and he's like, okay, I think I'm ready. I think I want to go past the palace walls again. I want to see more. So the advisor says, nope, I don't really think that's a good idea. We should stay here. You didn't really do that well last time, if I'm being perfectly honest. So let's just stay here. You've got everything you could ever want. He says, no, I want to go past the wall. All right, so they gear up. They get everything together. And they leave the palace. He's walking down the streets, looking at all the villages and the houses and the markets. And then he sees something. And he walks a bit closer. Oh my gosh, what is that? Take me back right now. So the advisor's like, all right. So they turn around, they walk right back, Gabe.
Oh my God.
They walk right back, and he says, oh, what was that? Like, you should never have agreed to take me past the walls. This is ridiculous. Why did you do this? Why did you let me do this? What was that? And he says, Prince, that was an old person. He'd never seen age before. He'd never experienced age before. So a couple days go past, and he's like, nope, Dennis, I'm good.